Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Unhinged Motorsports Podcast. As always, I'm Tyler,
And I'm Josh.
and we're just gonna fucking wing it today because that's what we do best.
So first, I think I want to talk about how much Kyle Busch is a piece of shit.
That shouldn't be news to anybody.
And I find it hilarious that this is coming off the back of Danny Hamlin's criticism of him and now approaching a decade of being mediocre because he seems to have worse career decisions than Fernando Alonso, though in fairness, at least all of Alonso's were decisions, and some of Kyle Busch's has been because people can't fucking stand him. But
Fair.
the shit that he pulled at the end of that race on Nemechek, which I'm still waiting for an official source to say if all the blood came from that. I had seen two different things, and that's why I don't want to say anything definitively. There was so for those not aware, last lap of the NASCAR race, Kyle Busch decides he's going to crash John Hunter Nemechek because he's a fucking child. Hip checks him into a wall at a pretty high rate of speed in turn 3, hits the wall hard, goes right rear to right front, the classic fuck, that's a concussion hit. And when John Hunter Nemechek got out of his car, his face was pretty covered in blood. Like, I've heard two different things that you can see. So he got out by William Byron's car too. And so because at first people were wondering if there was like a fight after the race or something, because you didn't see this on the broadcast. Like it wasn't a thing on the broadcast that you saw. So some people were wondering if there was like a big fight after the race or something, like he got caught in his car or something. But it turns out if you look at William Byron's on board, he gets out of the car bloody. Now, there were no, at the time of us recording on Monday evening, I have not seen any confirmation of what happened. I saw two different things. One, that he had a nosebleed in the car, and another thing that there was a nosebleed in the car because of the wreck. I don't know which one of those is true, but
I mean, they're kind of on the
getting out of
same
the car
page.
covered in blood is kind of fucked.
Yeah.
And if that was caused by a Kyle Busch, he needs to be parked for a week. I think he needs to be parked for a week anyway, just because he has a history. And when you have a history of doing things like these, and it's 100% intentional.
Yeah.
He went to social media to basically explain why it was okay that he did it.
Yeah, you can go fuck
And
yourself.
the moment you admit publicly that you purposely wrecked somebody, as both Denny Hamlin and Bubba Wallace have learned, you usually get a race ban. Or at least a hefty fine.
My thought process is it should be more than just a week. Like a week seems weak. I tried to think about this, but I couldn't frame it any differently. Only because
it
this is a
doesn't
pattern.
These new points, though.
It's a pattern.
But with these new points, with the new point system, missing a week for a guy trying to creep into the back end of the playoffs is a death sentence.
Well, maybe he fucking deserves it.
But that's what I'm saying. I think a week is harsh enough because of what it will do to his playoff hopes. It would pretty much, chase hopes. It would pretty much eliminate him from the chase unless he wins a race. Which
he's only going to do if he continues to crash people out.
Even then, I think Hocevar would still beat him because he can crash better.
But that's true, and Hocevar makes it look clean at least.
And at least Hocevar can be likable. and he's young. You excuse these things when you're young. When you are a supposed Hall of Fame driver, these aren't excused anymore, especially in this situation. You have a young driver in a slow car. You're fighting for 12th position. You try to clear yourself. It's not there. You make contact. You're still fine. You're still in that position. You're still going to get that position. And you go deep in the corner and purposely throw him into the wall, end his race, and you fall back to 20th because of going deep in that turn and possibly the damage that you took. So the first time all year your team has a good run at the checkered flag and you throw it away for a vendetta on something that's either your fault or your spotter's fault. Now you've ended you've ended another race, severely screwed up your race, which you desperately needed the points that you would get from 12th place. All because you have a bit of an anger issue. Like,
I would say it's more of a bit. It's more of a it's definitely not just a bit. It's more of a I know I can push these boundaries and be a dickhead, so I'm gonna do it anyway.
and I'm sure some of it's from the pressure that's on him. Like the comments Denny made are what everybody's thinking. Like, let's be real. When Kyle Busch went to RCR to start a new chapter with them after leaving Gibbs, I think a lot of people thought Kyle was going to win a championship.
Did he leave Gibbs or did he get kicked out of Gibbs?
He left Gibbs. I mean, really, it was kind of a choice. It came down to money and contracts being renewed and things like that. He had certain things he wanted. They weren't going to give it to him. Maybe you could call that a mutual parting of the ways, but whatever. Like him going to RCR, we thought like, or at least I did, and I know some other people thought like, oh, this is going to be a championship contender. No, apparently that was just Gibbs in that team, because the moment he's gotten RCR, they've been terrible in this next gen era, and Kyle Busch has been laughable. I see him more times being lapped by a leader than I see him fighting a leader. And that's not throwing shade, that's just fucking honesty.
That's just the truth.
But when you're in those situations, the last thing you want to do is fuck up the very few good points finishes you're going to get. And, you know, when you look at the opposite end of the spectrum, let's talk about two guys that, you know, we've been clowning a little bit, Riley Herbst and Alex Bowman.
I mean, I haven't really clowned Bowman all that much, but
all right, I was trying to say it was mainly me, but
we've
Bowman,
both clowned on Herbst though. Like we've definitely clowned on him a lot.
Bowman 2 weeks in a row has had a solid, steady race. Nothing adventurous, nothing crazy. Get to the checkered flag, get some points. 2 top 10s in a row, his first 2 top 10s of the year, getting his shit together, getting valuable points in case other people stumble, which they are doing. You know, we had Larson into the wall. We had Bell get taken out in an unfortunate incident with a lap car spinning.
We had Laguna taken out in the pit crash.
Yeah. 3 big contenders you expect towards the end of the year that have had issues. And Riley Herbst, he has had a really rough year. Heim looked good again. You were thinking maybe time is ticking. Everyone knows Heim doesn't have a seat next year, and if Toyota doesn't find him one, he's leaving to another manufacturer. There's a lot of pressure on Riley Herbst to get points. And what did Herbst do? He was in a situation with a car that was capable of points. He didn't overdo anything. I think he kind of messed up on the pit strategy a little bit. They fell back to 12th from, you know, an upper top 10, you know, where it looked like they might get 5th or 6th. They ended up falling down. But he still got a 12th finish. He really needed that. gets some points on the board. And even a guy like Bubba. Bubba crashes in qualifying, starts last, probably could have had a chance at a top 5 if he had a better start, is able to stay out of the bullshit, rebound, have a good strategy to get a top 10 finish. These are the things you do when you need points and you're not winning. These are the things Kyle Busch should be doing. Finally gets a good showing and throws it away in a temper tantrum. And it's hard not to be critical of that because RCR is depending on him. And he's fucking them out of any chance of making the playoffs. And you really have to wonder how long until this relationship completely splits, because he's publicly said it's the car, not him. There's arguments every week on team radio with them right now.
He has a new crew chief too, doesn't he?
Yeah. This is the first race with new crew chief. He got yelled at during the race for a similar thing of like being over aggressive because he felt somebody screwed him over. And either the spotter or the crew chief, I'm not, I don't know much about his team to know the difference in their voices, but basically yelled at him like, dude, this is the best we've run in years. Chill out and get us some points. And quarter of a race later, he throws it all away for another incident that was somebody else, that was his fault.
I haven't paid much attention to NASCAR up until like the last like year and a half, but I also haven't seen this. Is like mid-season driver changes something that happens, or are they stuck with this
Not a lot.
relationship until the end of the season?
You tend to find out, well, NASCAR is kind of weird because you have a lot of early season contract stuff, and then you have some later season contract stuff. And sometimes there's similar things that happens with like F1 where you'll get these extensions and they don't have actual years attached to how long they are. You'll just hear long-term extension, kind of how Mercedes likes to do.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
But I like that's what just happened with Reddick when he just signed his new contract. Is it's just a long-term extension. They don't say exactly how many years. Last year they did the same thing with Bubba. You know, you have a lot of these. I want to say Larson's. They did that too. They might have given actual years on that. I'm not 100% sure. But you have issues like I believe Bowman's contract is up this year, either this year or next year.
Well, the way he's driving, he might actually be able to extend
it. They have
it.
Corey Day. They have Raja Karuth. I hope for his sake he does, because I don't have a problem with Bowman. I think he's a good dude. It's just, man, being in a Hendrick car, you gotta perform, especially being in that 48. That's like being in the 24. If you're gonna drive that number that was driven by a legend who helped build that team, and let's be real, two of the legends that built that team are Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson. If you're driving in their number, you better perform. You better be a playoff driver. You better be a race winner.
I don't see that in Bowman's
and I mean,
future
everyone really has that pressure at Hendrick, because you have Chase Elliott driving his dad's number and his dad's car. But like the old school 9, like before Bill Elliott was 94. You have, and I mean, he's constantly voted the most popular driver in NASCAR. You have Larson, who is driving the 5, which was Labonte's number. And, you know, we've talked about it in the past. There's a lot of pressure that follows Larson. He runs his mouth. He considers himself
the
best
shit.
driver in the world. He said some things that make me not like him, but whatever. There's a lot of pressure on Kyle Larson's shoulders to perform because it's expected of him. William Byron driving that 24 car and being so close to a championship but not getting one yet, there's a lot of pressure on him. And then you have Bowman back there,
Driving the 48.
guy who is the furthest off of winning a championship. Two of those guys already have at least one. Byron's been really close, has a decent amount of wins, and Bowman has a couple of wins and has. He's one of the guys who might be hurt most. I think him and
Van Gisbergen?
Logano
Really?
are going to be
Logano?
the most hurt by this format because they have both gotten in the playoffs because of the win in your in format.
But that again, relatively new to actually paying attention to NASCAR. Logano seems like pretty consistently good.
He's not. Logano has this habit. Every time Logano has won a championship, it has been bullshit. All credit to him. Hey, he does it, but he has a subpar year where he's a halfway decent performer at best, but gets a win or two, gets into the playoffs, and then the playoffs come, and for whatever reason, the playoff tracks just agree with him. And then all of a sudden, he goes on a run in the playoffs and wins a championship, and you're like, he basically does what Kyle Larson did last year. Where like somebody's running away with the championship and looks like they're going to do it. And oh, here comes this fucker out of left field that just shows up out of nowhere and wins the championship. Logano is one of the reasons for changing the format. Because at least his last two championships are ones that in a regular point standings or even a chase format would never happen.
Yeah.
And he's one of the guys I have missing the playoffs this year. I don't think Logano makes it. He makes too many mistakes, too many crashes. The team makes too many mistakes. I mean, he crashed out on pit road. Not his fault.
I was gonna say, like, that wasn't his fault.
No, but operationally, you probably shouldn't ride the rear of anyone in the pits. I think he should have been a little further over. Now, granted, you're coming into your pit stop area, so shit in the pits there kind of got wild. I don't blame Logano for that. Don't get me wrong, I'm not blaming him. But an incident like that kills him because this is one of the tracks that he's actually good at.
So something similar happened, not necessarily to the extent where a driver couldn't finish, but last weekend, not yesterday, but the weekend before, in Kansas, I think it was the last race before Texas. They were going 3 wide into the pit, and there was also some incidents, and a driver had to go around because they were in the middle of a 3 wide in the pit. Do you feel like if NASCAR made it like a single file mandatory rule into the pit, that it would make it better, or would it make it?
Because when you pit under caution, that shit happens all the time too. The fact is, it is hard to get in and out of pit boxes in NASCAR.
Yeah, they're packed. They're absolutely packed.
The more cars on pit road at the same time, the more shit can happen. And
I think the only reason this doesn't happen in F1 is because pit lane is like 1 car wide, at least in the entry, but also there's rules against it.
Well, also you have basically in F1 the equivalent of what would be 4 pit boxes for 1 car.
Yeah.
Because you have 2 full garages plus dividers that are devoted to one team, and they pit their car in 1 spot.
Yeah.
You know, if McLaren bring both guys in, they don't have 2 spots for that car. They have one. So it's a lot easier to avoid. You have less cars, and you have less space being taken up. Well, technically more space being taken up by the teams. So it's a lot easier in and out. You see it in IndyCar. IndyCar's a little bit more compact and they have more pit lane issues. The more compact you make the pits and the closer you put everyone together, the more issues you're going to have, which is why you see endurance series like NLS and WEC and IMSA. They're a little bit different, especially when you're dealing with like NLS, where you have, in IMSA, where you have like times you have to be in the pit stop.
Yeah.
And I mean, WEC too. Like, it's a lot easier when everything's on a timer of how long you have to be in the pit stop, a minimum that you have to be. There's not as much rush to get out. Like, everybody's ready to go by the timer expiring most of the time. So then you have more time to watch what's going on and get out safely. Whereas this, it's like,
No, you're in and out, and if you hit somebody, you hit
you got
somebody.
12 seconds to change these fucking tires and get out, which I don't know if you heard on the broadcast, because it was only like halfway mentioned earlier in the race, like midway through the race. Well, actually, no, it was kind of close to the end. Might have even been the last pit stop. Bubba Wallace's team broke the NASCAR record for a 4-tire stop.
I didn't. Well, so I was at my girlfriend's and I was watching on my laptop, while also playing Need for Speed, and she was running, and so I didn't have the volume up super high, so it was more watching and us listening versus listening and watching. Uh, so I didn't hear that, but that's incredible,
They
actually.
barely talked about it on the broadcast. All they did was mention it real quick, and then they were either just coming back for commercial or going to commercial or something like, or, but they barely mentioned it. They were just like, "Oh, broke the record for 4-tire pit stop ever," and then just like went on to something else. And I'm like,
How long was the pit stop?
"Ever?" I don't know. They didn't even say the timing, but like it must have been pretty fucking fast.
Let me see if I can Google this quick. I can only see part of my.
Yeah, I don't know what the actual time was.
Let
Let
me
me see if
see.
I
I'm
can
trying to
find
pull it
something
up.
too.
Has achieved an elite speed tying this May 2026 8.02 seconds.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that's a long stop in F1, but that's a fast stop in NASCAR.
Oh, now they're saying the second fastest ever.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't want to mention it because I didn't know if that was true, but
Yeah,
uh,
they're saying now.
it's tied
Oh
though.
my god. So the fastest ever was 7.9. They were 8.0.
Wow. So who
They
was the
were
7.9?
8.02. I don't know. I didn't
Okay,
see who it, but yeah, the fastest ever was 7.98. They were 8.02. So they were 300ths of a second off of the best ever.
that's insane. That's insane for NASCAR. But also, like a lot of the longer fuel, like a lot of the longer pit stops include fuel in some type of way. So Bubba got 4 tires and just booked it. He didn't get fuel.
Well, it was at the end of the race, so I don't think they had to do much, if anything, for fuel. Because
But
he was one of the ones that pit under that last caution. Because he was running like 12th. Funny enough, him and Nemechek had been running together and battling each other all race, which is part of why I don't blame Nemechek. Is him and Bubba had a back and forth going the whole race, fighting over like 10th to 12th place. They were around each other so much and going back and forth. And it's like, if those two could race respectfully the whole race, and then Kyle comes up and all of a sudden there's an issue, that's Kyle. Because Bubba's
yeah,
an aggressive driver too, with a bit of a temper. And if John Hunter's doing shit to set off a temper, it's going to set off Bubba's first if he's been around him all day. And they raced perfect together. It was awesome. And then Bubba was one of the ones who got tires on that stop. So he was able to get up into the top 10. But yeah, that pit stop, massive for them, massive.
It was absolutely
Especially
massive.
because they really struggled on restarts all race. Like it took a couple laps for the tires to come in, and because there was a group of people who hadn't pit, they were kind of far back. And if they wouldn't have had such a good stop, he might not have gotten up there. But he was able to really push up because they had such a great pit stop and he got put in such a good situation.
So
I also feel
before
like we should mention that Chase Elliott won the race. He did an amazing job, dominated most of the race. Pretty
ruining
much
my,
a flawless performance.
you're ruining my thunder, man. I was getting to it. I was getting to it.
I just realized we had been talking for 28 minutes or 26 minutes
Yeah, and
about
I'm
the
like,
race and didn't mention who won.
I'm trying to wrap it up and be like, hey, so like these are who the top 5 or top 10 was, and you're just like, yeah, and Chase Elliott. Like, god damn it, dude.
Held off Denny Hamlin, man. Denny and his finishing second lately.
I mean, honestly, two of the 2311 drivers, Tyler Reddick in fourth and Bubba in eighth, like that's huge for 2311. Obviously, Herbst didn't make it in the top 10,
Well,
but
and Herbst in 12th.
yeah, so like he was
But I mean,
pretty
he's
damn
still top
close.
15.
Yeah, he was still pretty
This,
close.
what this is the second race in a row that 2311's had all their drivers in the top 15
Yeah, yeah.
because they had them all in the top 15 at
Your tapping is going to kill me.
either at Talladega. No, it was Kansas. They had all of them in the top 3. I keep forgetting Talladega happened. I'm going straight from Kansas to Texas. I forgot Talladega existed. Yeah, that was a
Oh,
thing.
oh wait. So it was
Yeah,
Kansas, Talladega, Texas. So I
yeah,
fucked that
yeah.
up
We
earlier.
we
I
both
fucked that up,
mentally skipped over Talladega.
which is wild.
But Talladega is kind of a crapshoot, so it makes sense.
Well, it was a really great NASCAR race. I
Yeah,
think
it wasn't anything world beating, but it had a good ending. It had some good racing. It had Texas's typical chaos. And for me being a 2311 guy, hey, 3 of the 4 drivers on the team, all 3 of the full-time drivers were in the top 15. Second time in 3 races that's happened. Fuck yeah.
I will say there's another racing sport that we both have been heavily critical of that we were actually like not super angry at this weekend. That was F1. Miami was not bad.
Miami was decent,
Yeah.
which this should be the type of track that is decent. Hard braking zones, a
Long
lot of
straights.
recharge areas. Only one long straight, so you're not using a lot of battery because the start finish straight isn't all that long. So you got a lot of hard braking zones. You do have some medium speed corners that can use some battery, but you also have some really hard braking zones to harvest battery. Eh, yeah. Well, actually, you have 2 long straights. You do because you have the windy straight lead into turn 14. So,
Yep. So
all right,
you technically
yeah.
have
So you
three
have two,
straights. You have 3 straights
yeah,
at
two,
Miami. 2 of them are kind of like one's really long, one's longish, and then the other's pretty short.
yeah, both decent size, but decent amount of overtaking. The yo-yo overtaking was there, but it wasn't.
As bad.
Yeah, it wasn't as annoying. It still had to be a fight. You mainly saw it happen when in that last hairpin section that they have. I don't know really what you call that, but um,
I really
getting overtakes and then over the start finish line, somebody fighting back and trying to get there. But it wasn't an every time thing that it happened, so it wasn't annoying. Sometimes it could be defended, sometimes it couldn't. It was decent.
I really enjoyed that the yo-yoing wasn't just between 2 of the same team. Like we had at times 4 different teams racing for the top three.
But you know what I really like too? Driving well mattered again.
Yeah.
And again, I know what this is going to sound like right away, and roll your eyes, kiss my ass. I don't care. But for the first time, I got to see Max Verstappen actually look like Max Verstappen again.
Yeah, for the first time this season.
He was in the back of the field because he spun on the first corner, which I actually think's good. It's nice to see a driver be punished for being over aggressive. We haven't seen much of that. So his spin, yeah, sucked as the fan, but like as an F1 fan, it's like, ooh, look, he was over aggressive there on a green track and spun. That's the way it should be. Not spinning because of an energy spike, but spinning just because you took a turn wrong. Awesome. Love that.
And I think that's the thing that I've missed the most in these regulations is like exciting race starts. Like that was super exciting. Like Kimi started first and ended up fumbling it. We'll talk about the rest of it later.
Surprisingly, not just a Ferrari.
Yeah, and like it was really, really good. Like that was the first race of the season that I was actually like captivated by. Like actually, like
well,
super
I think it helped that the
stoked
sprint race wasn't horrible and qualifying wasn't horrible. So you're like, all right, maybe there's something to look forward to here.
Yeah,
There
and I mean,
still
I watched
some
every session.
elements. Yeah, there's still some elements where I'm just like, oh, this sucks. But I understand not all of them are going to be fixed. And maybe some of that's softened by the fact that we got about as good a confirmation as we're going to that we're going back to V8s on sustainable fuel.
Yeah,
And
by the FIA president himself.
yeah, by 31, they're hoping to get it done by 30. Basically, what he said, and look, I talk a lot of shit about Ben, but I kind of like how the FIA is strong arming this one, where he basically said either the manufacturers are going to agree to this to do it for 30, or we'll just wait till 31 when they don't have a say anymore.
Yeah, because he's basically with or without the stakeholders.
Yeah, well, but I think this is what Ferrari and Mercedes have caused to happen. They refuse to bend on the power unit side of this. In Audi, I'm going to blame them too. Your boys in Audi, they can suck a dick because they're part of the problem.
They're the
Audi,
reason that the problem is
Ferrari
existing.
are the problem. Yeah, is they refuse to bend on the rules because of two of them, the rules are benefiting them, and one of them, the rules are going to benefit them soon because they're going to get that little extra bump to put their engine up to a higher level. And they don't want the formula to change when they're the ones getting the bump. So you have these teams arguing for their self-interest instead of what's best for the sport, like normally happens. I find it funny it's the teams that were talking so much shit about Red Bull for doing the same thing when Max was winning every race. Funny how all of a sudden your fucking opinions change. Looking at you, Toto and Zach, you little pretentious bitches.
Well, this is the first race McLaren actually showed out and like had both drivers on the grid. Like, this is the first race where McLaren actually could drive both cars at the same time, and not only drive both cars at the same time, but finished 1-2 in the sprint, and then second, third. Was it second, third, or second, fourth in the Grand Prix?
I think second.
I think it was second, third. I think it was Kimi first, Lando second, Oscar third. Because Leclerc was in third and then had some type of massive issue.
Leclerc was in sixth and got a penalty.
Well, but he was in third until he had an issue, and then he dropped back in the middle, at the end of the race.
Who was in front of Max? No, wouldn't it have been...
It was Russell. It was Russell in front of Max.
No, hold on. God damn it. Now I gotta fucking check what the results were.
This is why we wing it. Keeping it live.
Yeah, 2 McLarens.
Yeah.
Russell fourth, Max fifth.
Thank you. Who was right?
I wasn't arguing. I generally had a question because I couldn't remember.
My
It was
ADHD
kind of a
might
fucking
suck.
crazy end of the race.
My ADHD might suck, but I pay really good
God,
attention.
Leclerc ended up finishing 8th with that penalty.
Yep. Yep. It was a hurtful weekend. So was it
That
Hamilton in
penalty took
seventh?
him all the way to. No,
Hamilton.
Colapinto in 7th. Hamilton went to 6th.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Damn. Leclerc had a terrible weekend.
Yeah,
Not because of driving, just because of Ferrari reliability and also his driving.
I was about to say, and driving.
Yeah, because he literally like their F1. I think F1's official account posted his off the track moments. Someone did. It might not have been
Yeah,
F1 official, but someone did,
no,
and it
I
was
think
a
it was.
lot.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and the problem was you could tell in certain corners he was doing it trying to hold him off, and that's why he got the penalty. It's like you can't put your damaged car in somebody's way trying to save your position. Like, especially when you cut a corner to be in that situation. Like, if you're that damaged, get out of the way. And I think a good example of that, and boy, we're going back to one, is 2016 Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton crashed into each other on the last lap in Austria at the Red Bull Ring. And Nico had damage and had to crawl all the way back. And he crawled all the way back, staying out of people's way. And yes, he lost the podium and lost some positions because of it, but he didn't pick up a penalty because he made sure to make every corner. Now, granted, different track with less chance to cut corners to get there, but you have to be safe. And being unpredictable and parking a broken car in front of people going at full speed is not safe.
No,
And,
not at
and
all.
honestly, with it being the last lap and people trying to make passes, we're very lucky that a bigger accident didn't happen with overspeed in a corner. Like, this, that just wasn't his best move and best decision. And I didn't realize they were going to throw a full 20 seconds at him.
That's a hefty fine.
But I also think it's setting a standard of like, this isn't the first time the FIA have been mad about a driver continuing to drive a damaged car and put people in a dangerous situation. And I think this is one of those, like, yeah, we're going to make an example out of this situations. Like a top guy from a top team getting a hefty penalty for doing this.
Do you think
And
like somebody like Colapinto would have got the same kind of hefty like example?
I don't know.
I think the difference is that again,
I
like you
don't think we
said,
would have noticed as much if he did. I think we noticed because of who it is and
yeah,
where they were running.
absolutely. But I also think that it might not have been as hefty if it was somebody in the midfield, which Alpine, Colapinto, typically
I don't
run the
know.
midfield.
We watched Behrman get some pretty fucking heavy penalties for stuff I didn't think were heavy penalty worth.
That's fair. That is fair. I don't know. I guess it just like make an example out of the one of the big four teams.
Well, it's a driver that should
Like
know better.
yeah, 100%. It's not his first season or his second season or his third
Yeah,
season.
we're talking about a very long time veteran race winning driver who knows better.
Yeah,
And
and
he
driving
knows what
for
he's doing.
yeah, and
He,
he's driving
he,
for one of the most prestigious teams in F1.
and he knew what he was doing when he did it. And
I think we have
hey,
so
I'm
you
glad he did it because Max got to stay in 5th, which made me happy because he got that 5-second penalty for crossing the line on pit exit, which I still haven't seen the video of, but those are usually pretty black and white. The only time I've seen it not be was when both Red Bull guys, Perez and Verstappen, got accused of it at Monaco in the rain a couple years back. And it ended up not being a penalty because they just barely had a little bit of tire on the white line.
I think that was
But
what
usually those are
2022.
pretty.
I think that was 2022 or 2023.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
One of those 2 years.
But we have, so you have a rant. I have a little mild anger. I'll go first because yours is probably gonna be longer. F1 TV. Show all of the fucking incidents that happened at turn one. Because, and I mean, I'm happy you showed Max's crash in 10 different ways, but you didn't show how Nico Hulkenberg needed a new front wing and then ultimately retired from the fucking race. And you showed Max's onboard crash from like 5 or 6 different cars.
Do we know for sure Nico had an incident?
That, well, he had to pit second lap or right before
Well,
second
but
lap.
with all of Audi's problems, do we know that it was an accident?
Well, I saw smoke in a lot of areas throughout the first turn and into the second that didn't get shown. And Max's was the biggest one that they
Yeah,
showed.
well, for obvious reasons, but I think mainly just because everyone seemed to manage to miss hitting him, which was wild.
Yeah, that was insane. Max's 360 spin and still driving. Like, even Kristen was like, that's impressive. I was like, yep.
Yeah, the way that man seems to manage to catch a spin is wild. Like,
And
just spins out and immediately catches it. Didn't even lose a top 10
his
out of it,
comments
which is wild.
afterwards were even more better. But to my point, we only saw basically like one driver's incident in the first turn when there seemed to have been at least more than one. And that is extremely frustrating because, and this is only for this race, because usually F1 TV is really good about kind of going through all the incidents throughout the first turn. That's usually like after the race stabilizes, they'll be like, all right, well, here was the fucking intro. Here's how everybody started and this and that. And they did that. They showed the start line. They showed the first turn with Max's spin, but they didn't go deep into anybody else that had incidents. And I know there was a couple other drivers that touched or, had incidents in the first turn at the beginning of the race. And it's frustrating. It's like F1 TV continuously, like, they get better at one thing and they fumble the other. And it's infuriating.
I can agree with that.
This is something that I expect from Sky Sports, not from F1 TV. But,
I can understand that.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know if Nico had an incident or not, but have to pit on your first time around the track to replace your front wing says there was some type of contact somewhere.
I'm just so used to Audi destroying their cars before usually the race starts.
Yeah, well, they had a horrible weekend prior to the GP. Hulk didn't participate in the sprint. Gabby got disqualified from.
He blew up on the way.
Yeah, and Gabby got disqualified from the sprint, I believe, or no, disqualified from qualifying. One of the two. And it's like,
it might have been the sprint.
That's what I'm thinking, but I'm gonna leave it up to me being wrong. Either way,
That's
Audi
fair.
didn't have a great weekend. Gabby was only 2 positions away from points. That upset me a little bit, but it is what it is.
I'm actually kind of going back through Hulkenborg's online or onboard footage right now, trying to figure out if he wrecked.
Oh, that's actually real-time updates.
But I do agree with you that, like, I felt like the TV direction really sucked.
Yeah, it really did, and
it just wasn't. It wasn't what I am used to them doing, and how well they usually do, at least on F1 TV.
Yeah, and like also the other thing is like they always try to gaslight us on their social media and be like, "Hey, they're not slowing down on straights," but you can hear it. At least in the live broadcast, they might change it post.
I always have an onboard up, so I hear it.
And even I didn't have it on board this weekend. I usually do. I usually have three. I usually have both Audi drivers and at least Oscar or Lando, depending on their position. I didn't this weekend. It was just watching the race broadcast on F1, and
Yeah,
like
I'm
you
over
could
here
hear it.
making weird faces because I don't actually know what happened to Hulk.
That's interesting.
I'm coming to the end of the lap and I don't see anything.
Who was next to him or behind him at the race start?
The safety car?
Fair enough. Fair enough.
He almost rear-ended a Cadillac?
Was it enough? Was it enough space to him
It didn't
not
look
to
like there was
clip it?
contact.
You should go to the Cadillacs on board because you'll see with the wheel cuts.
No, he didn't hit him. And then jumps in the pit for a new wing. Huh.
It's so weird. But he did retire. He did retire pretty quickly after that. But we had
I'm
no
really
explanation.
confused.
Did he lock at all?
What's weird is when they took his wing off, I can't see anything wrong with it.
Hmm. Maybe we'll next week because we don't have a race this weekend. Maybe next week
We don't
we'll
have a
talk.
race for 3 weeks.
I know it's like we just had 5 weeks without a race, and now we're going 3 weeks without more. It's bullshit, but it is what it is. Thanks,
I'm gonna
Orange
zoom up
Pedo.
on something really quick, and I just don't see what it is. Like I don't see damage to his wing. If
It
that
could.
makes sense.
It makes sense. It could also have been he took the turn. I don't know where he was in the field because they only show the front at the beginning of the race. He could have took the curb in turn one way too hard and messed up his wing.
So he did have to take a curb at some point, like going over it to avoid Max's accident. But the left side of his wing is perfectly fine, which is where he went over it. I can't see the right side of his wing from where he is because there's a crew member in my way. But the left side of the wing looks fine.
Strategically placed crew member.
Well, it's just like how to jump in the way. And when they take the wing off, you can see the left side based on how they're holding it. That's really weird. Like, yeah, I
Yeah.
can't. So all right, maybe we can forgive F1 TV on that because I can't see anything.
I would be willing to do so, but also their
But
TV
he does
direction
go
still
deep
sucked.
into the last turn, and he was deep into another turn where he almost rear-ended the caddy. That makes me think there had to be a problem. But the only thing that he did abnormally was go over a curb.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I'd be
I don't know.
willing to
I don't know.
forgive. I'd be willing to forgive, but also their TV direction still sucked. So
Yeah, there were a few things I was getting mad that they weren't showing, especially in qualifying. I was getting really annoyed at qualifying.
oh dude, yeah, it was terrible. I mean,
The,
it
the,
was a
the,
good qualifying. It just wasn't like the TV direction wasn't that great.
yeah, but overall, it was a decent race. I gave it like a six and a
Yeah,
half.
there you go. I was gonna say you said 6.5, so
Yeah, I've been back and forth in between what I thought. Like for this year, it was a 9.
Oh yeah,
If
easily.
I'm comparing it to other races, it's not even my favorite Miami race. Some of the overtaking didn't happen as much as it normally does, but there was less false overtaking. So
For me, I give it a 7.5. Again, comparing it to other races in past seasons and stuff like that. And for this season, it's a 9.5. Like this race kind of re-sparked my love for Formula One in a way where I watched it and I wasn't bored.
well, and that's part of what I was talking about. Like with the Max fighting through the field thing,
Oh, that
which
was insane.
we kind of went on a tangent and didn't get back to like what I was actually trying to say. But for the first time, I got to watch a good driver make a difference in a car this year, and I think that's a bit of the difference. Like look at qualifying, which I know Red Bull brought a much better car than they've had, but look at how far above his weight Max punched in qualifying. And a lot of that was just on pure driving ability because his teammate, who has been really close to him all year, did not have that kind of a weekend. And this is a track that Max typically does very well at. But you can see, like, especially because I always have his on board up, you can see he could actually throw the car around a little bit. You could actually be more adventurous. And you could see guys who typically deal well in those situations where the car actually matters were much stronger this weekend. You had Norris having a good weekend. You had Antonelli having probably his best weekend in F1. You had Oscar back towards the front. You had,
Lando back towards the front.
well, yeah, him back up at the front. You had Albon in the points again through a comedy of some other people's errors, but it looked like racing again. Not quite the level of racing we want, but it's a little bit better. And I think the track helped that. This track brings out a little less of the flaws in the system. And I think Canada next will be similar. They're very similar tracks, flat street tracks with 2 long straights and 1 short straight. I think we'll be in a very similar situation. But it's just good to see that there can be racing that's not purely artificial in these cars.
Yeah, it was really good to see, and I'm excited to feel a spark again with Formula One. A spark.
Yeah. It
And
was nice to get a little bit of desire to watch races back.
yeah, yeah, and like
Especially because so many of the other series have been killing it. And that's really been affecting my love for F1. Like I'm watching all these amazing race series, and then I watch F1, and it's like, oh, this feels like a fucking cartoon.
I really appreciate that this race was better because my girlfriend has gotten into Formula One because of me. And then I started not liking Formula One. And she's like, "Well, I have a team now, and I did this, and like I have gear, and like you don't like Formula One anymore." I was like, "That's not the case. I just think it's boring." And she was actually glued to my laptop as we were watching it. She was like trying to multitask, obviously, and like cook breakfast and stuff. But
But yeah, it
like
felt like a good race.
it,
It was a
if
good.
I felt excited, and like she was excited, and she like that
And
felt
the end of
good.
that race was amazing. Like
Oh,
the end of
that
that
was
was wild. Watching several of the fights, it looked like you knew you weren't getting a fight for the lead, but everything back of the lead, you had quite a few fights going on, and then Leclerc makes his mistake, and then really spices up what was left. But there were a few good battles going.
and I hope it stays that way because it wasn't just two teams with four drivers total between the two teams fighting for first through fourth. It was four teams fighting through the top seven.
Yeah, and some really good performances by
Yeah,
drivers, and I loved it.
yeah.
Now we only got a couple minutes left. I really, really, really want to give IMSA some love because Laguna Seca isn't one of the most popular races. Some people love it. Well, I think most people love it, but it's not one of the bigger races on the calendar. It's not Daytona, it's not Sebring, it's not Indy, but it's still pretty up there as an important race. And man, it was excellent. You had a customer Porsche team getting an incredible and somewhat unlikely win on the last lap of the race in a beautiful fight at the front of the prototype grid. Just got to feel bad for Caddy, man. They keep losing to Porsche late. My God. Jack Aiken has to just be having nightmares of Porsche cars at this point because the lost Daytona 2 years in a row, losing Laguna Seca, similar. Oh God, feel bad for. But that was amazing. The GTD Pro also had a fight that was within a second on the last lap with Ford getting their first win at Laguna Seca in decades. I think the last time they won there was like the 80s or something. Like it's been forever. The Mustang gets a massive, massive win over Corvette at Laguna Seca. Lamborghini gets a win in the non-pro class, the regular GTD class. They get a huge win with their new Lamborghini, first win for it. It was such a good race. I'm sad that I didn't get to watch the full race because there was just so much shit going on yesterday or Sunday. Sorry. That was yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah.
So especially here where we live because our NBA team was also playing a game 7 that day and
There's
our
so
baseball
much
team was
yesterday.
playing. There was an incredible amount of and you had GT World Challenge this week.
It was
There
literally
was
all hours of the day there was something to watch,
yeah, there was just so much racing on.
and not enough hours.
Yeah, and so I missed the beginning of the IMSA race. Luckily, I was able to get the last 2 hours of it,
So you only
and
missed like 48 minutes of it.
yeah, but the last 2 hours were incredible,
Oh yeah.
absolutely incredible, and especially that last half an hour was just massive. You had these strategy calls. Everyone who won the race didn't look like they were going to win the race with an hour to go, and I think that's what was so cool is it looked like you knew who was going to win every class, and then everything got turned on its head with different strategies, and all of a sudden JDC, which I have a love for JDC Porsche because when I went to Daytona, this is a little bit of a funny story, but when I was flying out of Daytona after the race, my Uber driver was actually one of the spotters for JDC. He lives in Daytona and does Uber during off times.
That's pretty
And
sick.
we ended up having a really long conversation, cool conversation about everything. And, that was the Fog event. And he was like one of the guys involved in while the Fog was going on. So it was really cool to hear from a spotter's perspective what that was like. And that kind of made me really like JDC because, you meet a team and you like someone who works for them. You want to root for that team a little bit more. And I mean, so it was cool to see them get such a huge win for them as a team. Like being the non-factory Porsche team getting a win is always going to be massively special, especially going up against Penske Porsche, the factory team. So
Yeah.
huge, huge shout outs to them. Obviously, I'm a massive Mustang fan, a massive Ford fan. So watching Ford get that win was awesome. I really wish one of the races I would attend they'd actually win, but
Well, I mean, we have January. We have January. We'll
Yeah.
be at the Daytona 24 hours.
Yeah, I
So,
need them to get on that every other year track of winning Daytona. They did bad this year. They won last year, so I need them to win next year. Really need that.
well, we need a lot of things, but I think that's the perfect place to end it.
Yeah, yeah, and sadly, not half as much racing next week. No
Yeah,
IMSA, no F1, no GT World Challenge.
just NASCAR.
Are
Boom,
we
boom.
are we a week away from Nords,
That's a good question. I don't know,
or is
but I
it
guess
this weekend?
we can let the listeners know next week when we talk about it.
Well, it might be this weekend.
I don't know if it's this weekend.
Oh no, it's the 14th through the 17th.
No, we got 2 weeks. Well, we got 10 days.
Yeah,
Yeah, 10 to
because I knew
15.
F1 has 2 weeks off. I wasn't sure which of the 2 weeks the 24 was during.
Yeah. So we'll have some Max stuff to talk about, not next week, but the week after
Yeah,
when
yeah.
it comes to Nords. But yeah,
Oh, that's gonna be so exciting. God, I can't wait for that. That's gonna be wild.
it's gonna be great. But we've been great today. I think this episode was great. And
Hell
yeah,
yeah.
thank you all for listening.
And we'll still have some NASCAR to talk about next week, which should be exciting, and hopefully a Kyle Busch penalty to talk about.
That would be great. Oh my god, that'd be so great. But yeah, as always, I'm Tyler,
I'm Josh.
and we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.